Good morning from Cuba, Missouri and the Wagon Wheel Motel. This is our fourth day on the road, and today was a travel day. Yesterday was all about St. Louis. Today we're on our way to Springfield, Missouri, but we're going to backtrack about 20 miles or so and visit Meramec Caverns first. The Wagon Wheel is actually the oldest continuously operated motel on Route 66. Originally started as a gas station in 1936, I believe. Added the tourist cabins a couple years later, and like I said, been in continuous operation ever since.
Meramec Caverns. As I said, we've worked our way about 20 miles back towards St. Louis here, towards Stanton, Missouri, and we are outside Meramec Caverns, which have been hosting cave tours and trapping tourists since 1933, celebrating their 85th year right now.
It's called a pendulum. Pendulums work off the momentum of the earth. Once you start them, go back and forth and slowly rotate. However, the kids who built this pendulum in the 1950s, they could only come up with a 100-pound ball for their weight. Truth is, they need 1,000 pounds to make it work correctly. So every time we start ours, it usually swings for about an hour and stops. But what we have here, we have the only pendulum in the entire world underground that doesn't work. Came back to this part of the cave for the very first time. They discovered artifacts all around the base of the rock. At that time, they really had no idea how they got back here. Mr. Dill, he was able to get some serial numbers on the back of all this strong box of blocks. And those serial numbers, they led them to DM Mining, Denver, Missouri Mining Company. And that's what led directly to the train robbery in Gadshill, Missouri by the James Getman. First off, the reason the plexiglass is up is pretty obvious. People like to break things. So a lot of the damages here is from that, but not all of it. This is the jungle room. The room back there, they call that the spaghetti room. I'm going to tell you how all this forms. When the rain hits the earth, the rainwater is going to pass through the soil. As rainwater is passing through the soil, that's where it collects that carbonic acid and carbon dioxide. Now the water, it turns to a mild acidic water, about as strong as soda pop. And you got to remember one thing, a rock is always going to have some kind of fractures in it. I don't care if it's from the tectonic plates moving and hitting each other or earthquakes. You're going to have fractures in the rock, okay? Just remember that. This here is dolomite, this is limestone. This formed from water, but it wasn't the water that came through here. That had nothing to do with this.
So how long have you been doing tours down here, like yourself personally?
I retired about 5 years ago and moved up here. Sold my shop and my house and everything. When I moved up here, it doesn't take long to get pretty bored. Tried selling cars, but I didn't like lying to people. And that's a crooked racket. So I came here and I just really liked it. My background is actually in ceramics and glass and chemistry, so I know a lot about the rock, but I never actually saw it in its raw form, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that was so I kind of enjoyed it. And that's why I stayed here, because it's a fun place. I make a big place about diving into a hole you're not sure of. Have you ever seen a strip pit that fills up back up with water? Together, that gives us a yellow quart instead of a clear quart. Does it all make sense now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool, isn't it? Come on down here. They like it's not, what it is, it's too blended, you know what I mean? It's not pure, like the iron, it's not pure enough, it's got mixes of materials in it. Same thing with the cobalt, it takes refining to do it, and it's just not clean enough. But look here, see how these pointed lines, this was a mean earthquake. But look, see the fracture lines that came off of that fracture? And look behind you. See how that runs in a line? That's from an earthquake.
All right, well, that's it from the caverns. Quintessential Route 66, quintessential Americana, right out of the 1930s. Wonderful attraction. You know, even if you're not into roadside tourist trappy stuff, the geology's fantastic. Really good time. Worth a visit if you're in the area. Just outside Cuba, Missouri, this is Bob's Gasoline Alley. Our little Sinclair dyno getting to meet some of his brethren. Quite the private collection of memorabilia here. Alright, well that's it. It's just a nice little stop, a little drive-by, check out some memorabilia, check out some cool stuff, and then get back on the road again. Just a bit outside of Cuba, Missouri. Worth a stop. You've been hearing that a lot lately, I'm sure. Just down the road from Bob's Gasoline Alley, we come to no longer the world's largest rocking chair, but still pretty impressive nonetheless. I think Emily's looking for the geocache, which is hidden nearby here. So I'm sure we're going to be seeing more and more of these kind of things. This is, you know, your very stereotypical roadside attraction, and it worked. It made us stop, and it's time to carry on the road. We've got to get to Springfield tonight.
All right, we just passed through Hooker Cut, which at 90 feet deep was the deepest road cut in America for many years, constructed between 1941 and 1943, basically because the military needed better service for Fort Leonard Wood nearby, and they needed to be able to transport heavy vehicles, heavy equipment. And the old alignment of Route 66 that was in use was too twisty, too turny, too narrow, so they built this 4-lane stretch of Route 66. They began bypassing this in 1941, completed it in 1943, so I just want to turn off here and follow this stretch of road for a little bit. This is the original alignment of Route 66 that was in use up until the Hooker Cut opened in 1943. Now, this road used to connect to the other side of the cut. It's now a dead end and doesn't go all the way through. We're on the west side of the cut here, so it would have been cool if this would still go through and you could travel it the whole way, but we're just going to drive it a little bit along here just to check out some of the old road. Never pass up a chance to check out an old alignment of 66.
Next up on our tour, we are in St. James, Missouri, and the Vacuum Cleaner Museum. And someone else.
Oh, it's great section. No.
Doing this. Now the glass.
Yeah.
Vacuum.
I would be happy to get a vacuum for Christmas. I see nothing wrong with that.
the airway. Wow, what a collection of
How
vacuums.
well made everything is. So solid.
Air purifier and demothing unit.
Oh, that's cute.
Stepping into the 60s. More colors. Getting crazy. It's like a rainbow of vacuums. Like we've gone from the lower pile carpet in the 60s, step into the 70s, and it's shag.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, is it shag and is it orange? All right, that was a lot of fun.
It was.
If you get a chance, go in, talk to Tom. He's the curator of the Vacuum Museum of St. James, Missouri, and he knows his vacuums. And you too can learn why a vacuum has a headlight. It's not what you think.
It was lots of fun. Highly recommended.
Well, it's like the signs on the interstate say, don't be an ass, stop at the mule trading post. Of course, never pass up the chance to check out the Burger family. There they are. That's cool. That's the mule trading post. All right, we have reached one of what I was expecting to be the highlights of this trip, and that is John's Modern Cabins. There is the John's Modern Cabins sign, one of the real icons of the road. It is just as you would expect. It's fantastic. So the cabins originally opened in 1931 and were taken over by John and his wife in the early 50s. Apparently they ran them until about 1971. And when John's wife died, he basically closed the business, and it has sat abandoned ever since. Was done by Roman Rich and some volunteers from a little bit north of here. They came out and put this structure in place to help stabilize this cabin and keep it from collapsing, because as you can see over on this one, that is what nearly 50 years of abandonment will do to a wood building. It's completely collapsed, barely recognizable as a cabin anymore. So the cabins were victim of a couple of things: a widening of Route 66 in the 1950s, and then of course, like many of the Route 66 locations, the interstate finished them off completely. Apparently there used to be a dance hall here as well, in addition to the cabins. That was a victim of the Route 66 widening, which just left the cabins intact. You can see inside, still not, not that bad, relatively speaking, especially thanks to the efforts to stabilize them. So a couple words of warning when you're touring this area. As Emily pointed out to me, this area is full of poison ivy. So that's number one. And number two is that the remains of the cabins are located on private property, and you are taking basically things into your own hands by coming here to check out this site. So you're on your own when you're out checking out this place, but I still think it's worth seeing, even if you just come up to the road and look at it from there.
Speaking of the road, here is the abandoned section of Route 66 that runs right in front of John's Modern Cabins. Well, we got to get on our way to get to Springfield tonight, so that's it for now. We'll see you later.